waste my time.
Morning, everyone. In the gym today, we're very fortunate to have Jimmy, otherwise known as Jimmy Judge, on his Instagram. So welcome to the gym. You've been here a few times before, but I thought we'd sit down and get a little bit more personal, give our members and the Gladstone community a little bit more insight into what goes on in behind food challenges and bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So
thanks so much for having me. Hey, I appreciate it.
So kicking it off, Jimmy, I guess to give everyone a little bit of insight as to where you started and to where you're, I guess, aiming to be with the food, and plus obviously your training and everything, which we'll touch base on. But where did you kick off your fitness journey, and then obviously realising that maybe food challenges and bits and pieces might be where you wanted to go with things? So
I was boxing for years when I was younger, and I think that's how it sort of got me really into the fitness. As my dad was a boxer, like I wanted to be fitter, typical kind of, you get bullied in school. I was a heavier set kid, so then I got into boxing, started losing weight, was like, oh, this is good for fitness. One of the trainers was like, you should fight. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to fight. And then started doing training, fell in love with it. And then really just then I started training consistently with all the boxing and stuff. But when we were dieting for competitions, I'd always watch Man vs. Food on the Food Network. And then from that, I was like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I think that's when the little seed planted itself in my head. I was like 14, 15 years old. And I was like, I want to do that one day. I want to try this one day. And then did a bunch of sports. I worked my way up to the Australian title with the amateurs, won that when I was 16, 17. Then typical teenage boy, decided I wanted to get jacked. I was started lifting weights, did some bodybuilding shows, decided that I wanted to go back to being functional. So I dropped a bit of weight, went back to boxing. And then I had a few more fights, and then I was just with the impact of, years and years of getting hit in the head. I thought probably time to hit the brakes a little bit with the amount of concussions I'd received in my whole life. And then I was sort of just training for the sake of training, was sort of thinking this is good, but I need a goal. I'm very goal orientated. I can't just train for the sake of it. Did a few food challenges in my hometown just as a laugh, just as something, because I thought if I'm doing the food challenges, it'll motivate me to train harder, because I don't want to just blow out and get super mega obese. And then filmed a few videos just as a laugh, and then they started getting really popular, and I thought, oh wow, I could actually maybe turn this into a little side hobby, I guess. And then that was probably mid to late 2023. And then over this last probably 12, 18 months, it's really just gone from there. The fact that we're even here talking is just beyond belief to me. That I didn't think I didn't think anyone would ever care about the food stuff. It was purely just for a bit of a laugh. Yeah. So the fact that it has been received so well, and now I'm able to travel with it's just been absolutely very random but very cool.
Yeah, it definitely was a fast rise. I think you came to the gym and I sort of caught on a little bit. Looking at the stadium page, and I think you're at 40,000 followers, maybe a little bit less. And then I think every time you post something, I'm like, what's he at now? And I think you're on the cusp of 200,000
very,
at the moment.
very blessed. Just hit 200,000 yesterday. So thank you everyone for supporting. Thank you so much. Yeah. So still can't believe it, but I'm here for the ride. So it's exciting.
And it's because your first one that actually blew off was that Gladstone Bowls first video. My
first ever video that took off was in October 2023 at the Bolo Club with my friend Justin Redgrave. He was the head chef at the time. He's out in Mara now at their Bowls Club, so we'll still travel out and do some food stuff with them occasionally. But yeah, that was the first one. I think I had 4,000 followers, and the video got 1 million views, and I thought, holy, what's going on here? Made me think, okay, well, we might actually be able to get a bit of interest with this, which was really nice, So Gladstone's got a real special place in my heart when it comes to the food stuff, particularly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just stepping into with your training and that, obviously you said you did a lot of boxing, and that's high intensity, obviously a lot of cardio work, minimal weight stuff, I guess. And then you've done bodybuilding, and you've sort of had an aspect of all sort of dietary requirements like weight cuts, and then you've obviously tried to do bulks and all that sort of stuff, bulks and shreds and bits and pieces. I guess with what you're doing at the moment, eating large portions, and a lot of the meals that you are eating are probably high protein, but then they're also high in fats.
Super high calorie
meals, super high calorie, a week's worth of food. So I guess looking at it from a perspective how over a week, I guess, what does that look like for you in terms of your calorie intake versus what you're trying to put back into your training to get rid of those calories and bits and pieces.
So it's like definitely a balancing act, and then behind the scenes, I guess, when I'm not doing these like big calorie challenges, it's very, 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 very low calorie, but very low calorie foods, but I aim for like high fiber, like you know, get all your fruits, high fiber, also high like micronutrient dense, so like fruits and vegetables, and like lean protein. So it's healthy and it tastes good, but in terms of like what like is quote unquote exciting, it's not super exciting. It's like a lot of a lot of chicken, steak, and like veg on the days, because I've got to eat in a bigger deficit on the days when I'm not doing the challenges to compensate for what a surplus I'm in on the days where I'm doing the challenges. Because I would never recommend people go to such extremes, but because we are doing such extremes with the food, with the challenges, I sort of have to be like almost a little bit flatter on the days that I'm not doing the challenges. But I think I'm sort of used to it now, and obviously eating so much, you know, if you eat like a 2.5 kilo palmy one day, like the next day you're not super duper hungry anyway, so it's not like I'm not physically starving, even if I eat sufficiently less on those other days.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess a full preparation, like how many days are actually starting to prep for a challenge leading up, and then what's that prep look like leading up to the day?
So it really depends. Like at the moment I've been really lucky that I can kind of almost go on like these like little tours where I like go for a week, and like, you know, I'm based in the Gold Coast at the moment. But we've been blessed that we've had bookings from like Childers. We went out to Burnett, I think it is, Burnett, then back to Gladstone, Rockhampton. So in the space of this week, it'll almost be back to back some days. But if like, that's just because we're sort of trying to make hay while the sun's shining, like do everything. But then when I go home, I'll have like a longer, harder week of dieting. Whereas typically if I'm at home, I'll try and book maybe like 1 or 2 challenges a week. Normally, like if it's very big, 1. And then I'll sort of start preparing like 2 or 3 days before. So big deficit, like, you know, if the challenge on the Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, big deficit. Then I'll come into the Wednesday starving, which makes it a lot easier to get the food down because you really want it. And then Thursday, Friday, the same sort of thing, like back into a bigger deficit. And if it's just the one of the week, then like maybe on the weekend I'll go back to sort of like maintenance calories where I would sort of normally be.
And I guess water would be one of your biggest assets too when it comes to doing all these challenges as well.
What was that, sorry, bro?
Water would be your biggest asset.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Just staying hydrated, and like particularly on the days when I'm not doing the challenges, just smashing so much soda water, it's ridiculous. Like I should get I want to invest in some kind of soda water company, the amount of water I drink. Just anything like fizzy to keep you full is like definitely the trick I use, because particularly when you're stretching your stomach to eat more food, you do definitely get hungrier on the days that you're not doing challenges. Like I've never been as hungry, which is good though, because now I need to eat more than ever, but I've never been this hungry, I guess because I'm so used to fitting more volume in. So that's why I really opt for like lots of vegetables, lots of like, you know, water, that sort of stuff to try and feel fuller for longer. Like
for sure. I follow your page, but for people that that don't obviously follow you heavily, or they mightn't see what you're up to, when you are, obviously you're on the road a fair bit, like you said, you're getting out to all these rural places and, you know, you're traveling around in those days, but I see that you're still training heavily. Like what is your schedule with training? Like what are you prioritizing in your training on a week where you might be Gladstone, Rocky, Mackay, then back down? What are you trying to get in, I guess, mostly on those days?
At least I try and do I'll train 6 days a week regardless, like wherever I am. And 5 of those 5 days a week, I'm trying to hit at least an hour minimum on the assault bike, or like, you know, running. Or I was running a lot, but then Christmas, me and my friends decided we're going to do a spontaneous marathon, and like 10 Ks in I rolled my ankle and decided to try and David Goggins it, and didn't end really well. So my ankle is still a little bit tender when I put my body weight on it for like long periods of time. But yeah, so 5 days a week I aim for at least an hour cardio, and like different intensities, but a lot of the time it's just sort of zone 2, just burning calories.
Yep.
And then 1 time a week I'll go like 2 or 3 hours, like a longer, slower sort of thing. And then the 7th day I'll try and, even though I don't like to have rest days, I'll try and have the 7th day of completely doing nothing. And I'll still train, like depending where I'm at in terms of like the weight training, I'll either do full body every 3 days or do like an upper lower day off, just to fit in with the schedule. If I've got more time, I'll spread the schedule out more and have like more specific days. But if I'm really on the road and push for time, I'll always sort of prioritize the cardio, because I'm like, it's just trying to keep that metabolism going and try and work up a little bit of a hunger and a sweat at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. Salt would probably be your worst enemy when it comes to trying to get your training in and all that. Obviously, after having a big challenge, high salt intake, you fluff up heaps and you're trying to just get rid of it.
100%.
Trying to get rid of those calories. And yeah, I see you on that bike flat out. Hats off to you, because that is some tough work. I'm a 10-minute man on a bike, but yeah, definitely.
It's definitely something I've worked up to over this period of time. Like even that volume of, you know, like I said, with the running at the moment, I'm not doing much running. So to be on the assault bike 6 days a week for that long is definitely not something I'd recommend to start with. Like it's something I've definitely progressively overloaded, even with the food. For people that are interested in doing food challenges, like it's just like a muscle, and this is how it was explained to me. I never really understood this. Like your belly capacity is like a muscle. You wouldn't just jump under like a 200 kilo bench press and be like, we'll see how it goes. Or like you're going to have a bad experience. So I think, you know, you see a kilo steak challenge or something like that and you give it a go, and maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't, but then you slowly build up. And that's sort of what I've been trying to do this last 12 months is like slowly build up with the intensity and the duration of my exercise, but also the intensity and size of the challenges. Because otherwise I think if you try to jump on the bike 6 days a week, or if you try and tackle a 3 kilo challenge and you have no previous experience, you're not going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
you're going to have
sure.
a bad experience. Like.
Definitely. Is there a science behind stretching or like training your stomach to take in that food? Like, is there any sort of like basic science in behind it, or is it just sort of like smoke and mirrors and you just got to find out for yourself?
I think it's like very case dependent on the person. I think some people, in terms of elasticity of your actual stomach, I think some people are just born with a more elastic kind of ability to stretch your stomach, but there definitely is, I don't know if I'd say science, because it's kind of like us bro sciencing, but there is definitely techniques and strategies that I've gotten from other like people that do it as a job, and travel around and do the actual competitions. Like I'm just doing like the food challenges at the moment, but you know, I've reached out to pros like Jay Webby and all those guys are absolutely amazing and super, super helpful. Because I've reached out and be like, you know, you're a pro, you compete against other people, you're like ranked in top 3 in the world. Could you give me advice? And they give me great advice on like, this is what we do. And same thing that we've said before, which is like, don't rush it. You'll get there. If you stay consistent, your capacity will build. But the worst thing you could do is be disheartened and stop trying. You just need to constantly keep trying to build that capacity. But I think it's like anything, if you don't use it, you lose it. So that's why I try and at least do like at least one decent stretch a week.
Yeah.
Because I definitely find if you take a bit of time off, like not that it just shrinks, but I think a lot of people can relate, you know, when you go on a diet and you don't eat much and then you're like, oh, I'm going to smash this big feed once this 12-week challenge is done, and then you eat half of it and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Your body is smart and it does adapt to whatever you're giving it.
I've definitely had those problems where I think, oh yeah, my eyes are bigger than my stomach. I'm going to hit this after this, and yeah, it doesn't happen. So you're doing the challenges at the moment, you're traveling around and you're doing all that sort of stuff. Is competition eating something down the track that you're looking at doing, or?
I'm really like, I've always said no. I've always said I'm not interested. And I think that's just because, particularly with years and years of boxing, I just felt like I was always so damn competitive. I'm such a competitive person with myself. I was afraid that it might like suck the fun out of it for me. But I actually had the pleasure of training with James Webb, who's like the Australian pro best in Australia by a mile. And it's funny because we keep sent each other's profiles. So like people will send me his profile and he says he always gets sent my profile. And everyone's like, oh, look out, James, you got competition. And straight up, no, he doesn't. Not even close. Yeah. But after chatting to him and realizing all the friends he's made, like even overseas and just through competitions, sort of got me thinking like, you know, if I can just keep my ego out of it, I think it would be really fun to just to sort of experience what it's like to compete with other people that are all, because we're all kind of crazy. We're all doing this. It's very weird. Like at some point we've all decided that we just want to shove as much food as we can in our face. I would never go away from the videos and the challenges. That's what I love. Like, you know, even stuff like this, the people that I've met through the challenges, the traveling, you know, I was in restaurants for years working. So to go back a house and talk to the chefs and get pictures with everyone before and after the challenges, like that's what I really enjoy. But I definitely think at some point I'll at least do one, because that's what even Webby said. You got to do one, bro. You got to just see. He said maybe you hate it. He
Yeah.
said maybe it's just a fun experience. He said like, you know, particularly too. He said like there's no pressure. Like he said, you've sort of already got your thing that you're doing, but I think it's just probably like all of us, you know, driven guys. You always want to like you want to go in and try and be the best.
Yeah.
And the realization of levels is like, yes, it's going to be a bit of a humbling experience.
It's probably really relatable. You've done a lot of boxing.
Yes,
It's like
for sure.
There's levels to boxing, and you can get humbled really, really quickly in boxing. So, and you don't want to take the fun out of it. So
For sure. So that's why I think I'd always keep it. Even if I do a comp, it'd be something like light and breezy, nothing too hectic. Like,
yeah, definitely. Do you find obviously it's all time based and you know, you're trying to do things as fast as possible. But a challenge, I guess, when you're doing it solo and you're just getting it done as best you can to yourself. But when you might be up against James and it's like, you know, he's eating 30 hot dogs in 2 minutes or whatever. It might be something crazy, whatever he can do. And it's just like that might take the fun out of it, trying to go that fast.
And I think as well, like we said with the boxing, like it's and I guess it's harder for people to understand with the competitive eating. Like I sort of just do the challenges, but the competitive eating is an actual sport.
Yeah.
Particularly in America with like the MLE, so the Major League Eating, it's like a sport. Those guys are absolutely amazing. And the best way I compare it to people is like I was the Australian champion for amateur boxing. Not pro boxing, amateur boxing, which means that even though I was a junior, which means there's someone out there that was a few years older than me that was the same weight that could have absolutely smoked me.
Yeah.
And I know that, and that's part of like this part of sport. And this is sort of the similar thing is we do the same thing in terms of content creation, but like you said, the levels in which the best way I can describe it is exactly like that. It's like getting like a real gun amateur to jump in with a very good pro, and then all of a sudden, like you said, that's why I've been hesitant of, like you said, because it would be very hard to still be like, oh, I got smoked, but that was really fun. Like, I had a great time.
Yeah, definitely. I still got 4 hot dogs and still waiting on getting it done. So with Australian, in terms of food challenges that are happening, I mean, you've probably done a lot of them on the East Coast in bits and pieces. Any sights on heading overseas? I know you've done a few in Bali and bits and pieces like that. But I guess the big one is probably
the States.
The States.
For sure. It's funny you say that actually, because my partner's actually American and she's got another year in Australia, so on a visa. But we were talking at the end, so it'll be January 2026. We were actually talking about just going over there and traveling all around the States to pursue, because she's a DJ. So like her work is transient, my work is transient. And then we thought, look, we might as well do this while we can. So I really want to try and, particularly this next 12 months, my sights are on like I'll still do like Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney, but I'd really like to do like more regional areas. You know, like Armidale, New South Wales, Coffs, Gladstone, Rocky, Burnet, like all these places, because I think they get missed a lot. And honestly, the people in the crowds, like we were at Childers the other day for Australia Day, the crowds are unreal at smaller places because everyone gets into it. You know, so I would really like this next 12 months to try and do these like little hidden gems in Australia and the bigger places too. But use this as like a bit of a time to sort of shine a bit of light on that. And then in 12 months for sure. States is on the cards. I'm not sure where, but I guess that's the perks of having, you know, having someone that's from the States. I'll just say like, look, you tell me where it's good and we'll just go where you go. Like,
I think you're going to be eating a lot of ribs and briskets and bits and pieces over there.
That's
the barbecue life over there is pretty big. So
I think I need to get better too. So this gives me 12 months to get better, because those American challenges are wild. Like,
for sure,
so big.
So just touching, you did speak about rural towns, and obviously Gladstone's rural. With stadium, just to make it relatable, was like that's why we put stadium in Gladstone. It's purely because like we're from here, and we do believe places like this do get missed. You know, lots of people with business ideas, they head south, they head to the coast, Brizzy, and good for them. But we're the same. The people in Gladstone deserved a high quality facility
for sure,
and that's why we came here. Obviously, we started one in Emerald, similar to this one, and then this is the second baby along the thing. And you're true. Like we see so many brilliant, beautiful people, you know, in
Yep.
grinding, getting things done every day, and they're the type of people that do get missed, I guess, and that's why it's good to give them some exposure and bits
sure.
and pieces
Oh.
to things like this, whether it's food challenges,
Yep.
gym, or any other business idea. It's always great to
Absolutely.
don't miss those rural areas, I guess. And if there are any rural areas, please, that have food challenges or you want to make one,
Yeah.
reach out to Jimmy.
Yeah, let us
He's
know.
always up for it. So
Always keen, always happy to travel. So that's why I love this place, honestly. Particularly on the road, like trying to fit the training in is like, it's not so much that it's super difficult, but the way I structure my challenges is like, I'm a bit of a, I was gonna say princess, but it's more like I'm very like a stickler for my routine if I can help it. So I always try and do my challenges at like lunchtime, because that way I've got all day afterwards to just kind of like either go for a walk or veg out, but nothing worse for me at least than having like a massive full belly at like 8 o'clock and then attempting to sleep. Because you're not going to. Like there's no way. You can't sleep on your back with 3 kilos of food in your stomach. Like you're laying on the side like a pregnant lady and you just get a terrible sleep. So I've figured out over this time that if I can shoot for like midday with the challenges, it works out really well for me. So finding a gym where you can get in, because I've got this other thing where I try and have, I'll super hydrate in the morning, so I drink like 2 or 3 liters of like a mix of Powerade, water, etc., to be super hydrated, because the last thing you want to do in a food challenge is be full of liquid. It just kills room.
Yeah.
So I've got like a routine where I wake up, train a couple of hours, drink all my water, and then I'll have like a 5-hour window between my challenge
yeah.
and the last bit of water I consume.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you're on the road, like, so that's normally looking like midday challenge. So I need to be done my 2 hours training and had all my fluids by like 7 a.m. Trying to find somewhere that lets you in.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of places don't open till later. So to have a place like this where you can come as a, like, you know, I obviously don't live here, and you can organize like a 10 visit pass and come in 24/7, having 24-hour access to a gym that you're not like locked into for like a year is so good. And like, I think that's like, one, the facility is good too, but having this here is so good for like someone like myself, because otherwise I'd have to like push stuff back and you start going like, oh, like, can we do like mid-afternoon? And a lot of places like, no, we're not open mid-afternoon. You got lunch or dinner. And then it's like, oh, and the next minute, like you're eating at 8 and you're going to bed at 1 and you like, it's just,
it's stuffing you up.
So
I guess.
it's nice to have like this sort of facility, because even sometimes down south, like you'll be in like Sydney or bigger places and they just don't give you the option. It's like either sign up, like lock into the contract or don't get a pass. It's like, you know.
Yeah, I guess we definitely became versatile with our membership,
For
understanding our market here in Gladstone. It's a very transient sort of place with the work, and you know, people are always in and out, and you know, you got to give people options. So we've definitely worked on helping people out as much as we can, obviously within the constraints of the business and making sure that we're profitable and all the rest. But yeah, being versatile has definitely helped us. You know, we're always happy to help people out where we can, and I guess that's why we're having a little bit of success now, 2.5 years in. So it's been great. Jumping back, you know, when I jumped on and you're doing your first challenge, or you blew up here in Gladstone. What did your lifestyle look like back then? Obviously, you weren't just living off your social money and doing all the social media sort of thing. Like, what did your lifestyle look like? Because a lot of people looking out and then from the outside looking at you, they'll probably think, oh, you know, he's just killing it, making thousands of dollars and all the, you know what I mean? The people do get that assumption.
Oh, definitely.
You know, because a lot of things I hear in the gym is I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And they look at someone that's obviously blowing up on socials and they go, oh, you know, he has all day and all the rest of it. But for me, it's like where you started, what was the grind like? Like, what were you doing? Were you working? You know, what did the training look like versus days off? What was your schedule like back then compared to what it is now?
So I was working in the detention centre in Townsville for when I started this. And that was 12-hour shifts, probably working like 12 days a fortnight. So that was just, and then that's when I was still kind of learning how to edit. So that was like a pretty slow process. But then it started to really take off when I was working week on, week off in the mines. And that was like, I was still just in like a contracting position. So like everyone's like, oh, mining money. It was like, but it definitely wasn't. It was like pretty much like apprenticeship wages. So I'd like go to work for a week, like keep the training in, do all the mining stuff, and then I'd come back and then sort of figure out, all right, where's the challenges? How do I learn how to edit? And just try and dedicate certain like a certain amount of time each day to like go and travel or do this or learn how to edit and that sort of stuff, which was, it was really good to, it was good because I had that week off, but also like a week sounds like such a long time before you factor in like family commitments, you know, training commitments, all this other stuff. So I think I was very blessed that I had that type of role where I could dedicate large chunks of time to the cause, but then obviously then you also lose a week. Because, you know, I'd wake up at 2 o'clock to train, or 2 o'clock in the morning to train before work 12 hours underground. And then you, so like you can try and get stuff done at work, but you're just a zombie. Like, I mean, anyone that does that sort of work understands.
Sure.
So it was, I found it was real like feast or famine. It was like a week of just like balls to the wall as much as I possibly can fit in. Yeah. And then more or less just a week of like, okay, well, still need to make money.
Yeah.
And even with like the channel itself, particularly in Australia, like we don't get paid for Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think like at the moment with like 200,000 Instagram followers, 150,000 TikTok people, like, wow, how much money do you make from that? Nothing.
Yeah.
Not $1. Not one thing done. Like, it's like from Instagram itself. Obviously, you can do like paid collaborations and sponsorships, and that's fantastic. But I myself was guilty of this. I saw someone with like 100,000, 200,000 within Australia. I'm like, it doesn't have to work. I thought it was like YouTube, like, oh, you're set, you're done.
Yeah.
But nah, with that within Australia, it's very much like unless you're actually going out and seeking sponsorship and trying to figure out that sort of stuff, it's just, you know, you could have a 15 million views on an Instagram reel and it doesn't equate to dollars. Like, you know.
Fair enough. Do you ever foresee Australia heading that way? Because obviously the States, I think they make.
Yeah, there's like, and that's with the States. Like, if I had my TikTok account in the States now, like I could just kind of live off that and wouldn't have to worry as much about organizing paid collaborations as we do in Australia, because that's another part of the food stuff. Is we're very blessed as we sort of travel around Australia and do like paid collaborations with restaurants, and that's sort of how we sort of make up for the lack of payment through that sort of thing. But I hope it would be really, really nice for Australia to go that way, and I think we will. It seems to be the trend with Australia, as America does something and then we'll do it a couple of years later.
It tends to go that way. With collaborations too, you've obviously got a lot of momentum now with a lot of brands and personalities. Like I even seen you one time with Jaden Sharma with Fork and Easy. You did a collab with them, and you got Front Runner and also the podcast runs and the radio channels you've seen on these days. You're definitely getting that momentum going. So how do you find, when that start, and how consistent now are you like collaborating?
Trying to as much as possible, and that was another big reason why I wanted to make the move, because I was working from Townsville doing the FIFO like week on week off from Townsville, like North Queensland, and that's why in November last year, so only recently, I decided to move to Gold Coast purely for opportunities. Like I was getting offers to collaborate and stuff like that down south, and I was sort of like, man, like I only have a week off. Like, it sounds like a really long time, but by the time I pay for my flights, book accommodation, do my collab, and a lot of the time with these guys that are quite big, like it's like it's a collab. It's not a paid collab by any means, because they're helping me. They're getting my name out, which is fantastic. But particularly before you start making money, like it was costing me. Even when I would travel for challenges like Bali and that sort of stuff, it was super fun. But I was like working a week in the mines to then more or less spend all of my money. Like I was reinvesting all of my money back into the channel, which was great. And now I can go, yeah, sweet. But at the time I had a lot of people like, bro, like you're crazy. You're working your ass off in the mines for a week and then you're basically spending it all chasing this food thing on the internet. But I knew it's what I really wanted to pursue. But yeah, now I'm down south, it's a lot easier to collab a lot more, because I'm sort of in the area, like it's so easy. Like being on the Gold Coast, if someone's in Brisbane, it's just a drive. You know, if someone's in the sunny coast, it's just a drive. I don't have to worry about like catching a plane and booking accommodation sort of thing. So,
are you finding a lot of people reach out to you, or you started reaching out to them first? How's it gone?
It's sort of 50-50, honestly. Like if I see something that I'm really like, oh man, that's cool. Like anything I really believe in, or you know, even people like people that are really cool, like Jashan. I reached out to him. We did a food challenge together last year. That was super fun. And then he said to me, like, do you reckon you could eat a box of this Fork and Easy? And I was like, probably not, man. That's hectic. And then 6 months later, I was like, I should try this. So then I reached out to them again, and they were like, oh, yeah, can we come to your place? So they actually came to my house and filmed me filming myself doing that. So sort of like 50-50, but it's been really nice. It's just, I guess, putting myself out there, because it's like very much a feeling of imposter syndrome where I'm like, oh, why would they want to do anything with me? And then you reach out and people are like, yeah, that'd be awesome. It's like, yeah, sick. All right, cool. Like,
yeah, it happened easy for I know what you're saying for sure. Are there any challenges? I've got a couple of questions that I was thinking of coming up to this. Is like, are there any challenges that you just done and you're like, God, I just do not look forward to doing it? Or are there any food specifics that you just like, I know you got to do it, but it's just like...
I'm pretty lucky in the sense where I guess like, the only food that I'm like not like super duper, it's like I'm not like a big shellfish person, like, because when I was growing up, my dad's allergic to shellfish. Like, I'm not allergic, but I think just in my head, like, I've always associated that with something that we don't really eat. So a lot of people like, you should do some kind of oyster challenge. I'm like, yeah, like in a challenge way, no, like I feel like that would be very repetitive and that sort of thing.
How many oysters could you get done in an hour? You know what I mean, or in half an hour? Like, that's a lot of oysters.
I was like, man, it sounds unpleasant to watch as well. Like, I don't think I'd want to watch someone do that. So, but no, in terms of the challenges that I've been offered and the ones I've seen, there's nothing that I'm not like keen to at least try. I don't like super hot stuff. Like, the day of the super hot stuff, it hurts, and the day after, it hurts way worse. So, but like, I will do hot challenges. I've just been blessed that I've managed to like kind of navigate around. Like, I haven't really been offered anything that's like, you should come and do this hot thing. I've done a few, but yeah, if I can avoid them, I will.
For sure.
With social media too, obviously, did you have much experience in the field when you started, or it's more so you were green and you just learned as you went? And then over time, you've, again, coming back to momentum, you build that momentum, starting to get understanding around how to use like Instagram, TikTok.
Yep.
What are the key things that you've found along the way that have shot your account off into 200K now?
Definitely consistency. And this is the one thing I said to one of my other friends. He's like building he's like a DJ in Townsville. He's building his thing and he's awesome for it. He does a great job of being yourself and consistently posting. Like, authenticity and consistency is just a thing where I think there's so many people trying to do similar stuff. The only way you can really differentiate yourself is by being yourself, because obviously there's only one of you, so people will resonate. And I think people can also see when you're just being yourself. You know, like I can't act on camera because I would forget. Like, I can't lie either because I would forget what I said. There's too many videos. I'd be like, what did I say then? So it's just easier to be yourself, I think. But like, from being yourself and just posting consistently, like when I started, I almost felt like I was just spamming people. And you do get it sometimes. The people that don't like it will hate it, and the people that like it will love it. And I think it's the same thing of like, just remaining consistent and being totally unbothered by like, you know, I get, this is crazy, I get death threats every now and then in my inbox. I'm eating food. It's not that deep. Like, I'm not curing cancer like I would love to. We try and raise money for food bank and men's and women's mental health. I would understand if people hated it if I was just eating food and being like, ha ha ha, like, you know, look at me. But I think just, being consistent and just having a thick skin with the social media thing, because I think if you let things get to you, you would just stop. You know,
that's the thing with, you know, being online these days is anyone can reach out to you. There's only so much you can do in blocking and trying to avoid that, but you're subconsciously always going to be looking for the negative, even though you can have all the positive, but there'll be 10% negative, 90% positive, but that 10% negative is always going to overcome you every time.
100%. You might have like 10 people like, bro, love your positivity, man. Great manners, awesome videos. Me and my family watch your videos. It's like, man, that's awesome. And one guy will be like, I hope you choke and die. And I'll be like, whoa. Like, and then back in the day, it would really like tick me off. I'd be like, you've ruined my day. And like, you've had 20 people that are like championing you, like, bro, you're great. Keep doing you. One guy is like, I hope you fail. And it's like you said, it's funny, like, as humans, I think, but also too, like, even with people like yourself, because you don't do that to other people, it's very like, oh, like, you kind of go, why are you doing this? A lot of the time, I think it's just people that are unhappy with themselves. But I guess that's the other part of when you get into this sort of social media thing and you try and go, is I quickly learned it's not my responsibility to figure out what their problem is. Like, as much as I'd love to help everyone, when I started, I'd almost be like, oh man, like, are you okay? Like, I don't know. And then I realized, you know, if you're being negative to me, I can just be like, I can wish you well, but I don't have to physically go like, hope you're all right. I can just block you, or I just don't respond, honestly. It's just been learning when to try to help and when to just go like, nah. It is, you know.
for sure.
And like you were saying with like personality traits, being yourself and authentic, like you were saying even before, you're definitely not like the pros. Like the pros are a lot further ahead of you, so people might think, why aren't the pros as big as you are on social media? And I think it's just purely because of your personality and the way you connect with people.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, I think as well too, like going back to like the competitive eating, like there's with that, it's like it very much is like a sport, and like with this sort of stuff that I'm doing, well, I'm trying to like leverage more like the content creation and the human connection, because that's the stuff I really enjoy. And I guess it's just like playing to your strengths. Like I've always felt like I can kind of communicate pretty good and like resonate with people pretty well. And then some people with the competitive eaters, they're just guns. You know, like even some boxers, amazing at promoting themselves, and others just fight. But they're amazing. Like some of the best fighters in the world don't talk. They just get in there, they fight, and you think, man, if you just spoke a little bit more, you would be massive, but they don't like it.
Yeah.
And same with some of these guys are like incredible like talents with the so much better than all of us really. But or most of us, and they just don't have the desire to put themselves out there, which I respect.
A pinnacle example of that is just Conor McGregor, like hands down.
He
like,
is the one that we always think about, right?
Yeah.
Like even when he's losing, or even when he hasn't fought in years, he is still relevant. Like we're still talking about him. He's still around. He's doing the bare knuckle thing now. Like just the classic example of you don't have to be the best to be doing the most. And like, you know, even when he was the best, he was still doing the most, and then he wasn't, and he never lost that, like, you know, characteristic.
Yeah, man. So I guess where are you looking at going in the future? Obviously, we have America on the hit list. Any other countries or any other goals you've set for yourself to achieve?
Well, my partner's from America, but she's Panamanian, so it's like I've never actually said this before. I'm learning Spanish. And I'm working on Spanish collaborations, so I want to travel around. So I want to get my Spanish good, and I've actually been. Well, I don't want to say I've been talking through my partner, but I've been talking to a few Spanish-speaking food creators that do what I do in different Spanish-speaking countries, like all over the place, like Mexico, and all around. And so my goal. Like America obviously is like there, and then once I'm fluent in Spanish, I want to actually do some like international collaborations where I can actually like make friends and use it's not there yet. I'm still very, very basic, but then learn like, you know, my Spanish skills once I have them, to travel around and collab with people, because I feel like one, that's like I've never seen it done before, and two, like through social media, the amount of friends I've made from all over the world, like that, you know, because it is a bit of a weird thing we're doing with the food. So even people that just do it as a laugh, I've really connected with people from like England, Spain, Italy, Mexico, America, New Zealand, because we all do the same. Like even if it's like someone have 50 followers, someone have 50,000 followers, and I was like, man, if I could talk to you in real time, like everyone, this would be great.
Yeah.
So that's like my like underlying big goal for like probably the next 12, 18 months to at least get like conversational standard, and then travel around there and try and like do some stuff that we haven't seen. And also I think it'd just be really nice because it's making more friends and building more connections I wouldn't previously be able to make. So yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you definitely have a wider range of audience then, and the variety of food you'd be able to eat in South America would be unreal.
Some of these challenges that I see overseas, like I was actually watching a guy the other day, he's a really big Indian food content creator that lives over in like I can't even New Delhi, one of those places in India. But like there's so many other like food challenge stuff that we don't really have here in Australia, and even America probably doesn't have it as much. But America is like the place, so I think go there, do that. But then I'd love to do like, you know, smaller little countries and do some kind of like Asian tour and Latin America and mix it up a bit.
And you tend to find too, food, Western civilization seems to modify foods from parts of Asia and South America. Like I know even sushi, like Japan, like sushi isn't like wrapped in seaweed and rice. It's just fish on I'm not even sure what its components are, but it's a lot different to what, say, Australia and America think sushi is. So even parts of India and like South America, again, like when we maybe go Guzman Gomez, you go to Mexico, it's completely different again.
Yeah. And that's what these guys keep saying. They're like, you need real Mexican from Mexico, not American Mexican, not Australian Mexican. Like, because they've got all these challenges. They're like, you need to do a Mexican challenge in Mexico. And it looks amazing. And that's what they keep saying, like, you'll love it here. Like, you'll love it here. It's great. And the sense of community too, I guess. Yeah. Whereas, like, that's the one thing I did find in my previous travels. Even Bali is a good example. You go at Bali, Thailand, you go and hang out with, like, the locals and stuff. And, like we do with food. Like, it's like the event around food. But, you know, to be in, like, where they live and everyone's cooking and the family's all there. It's, like, it's such a cool experience. And it's, like, such a nice sense of community, which is the thing I enjoy most about the food challenges. Like, I'll do something like a Childers or Gladstone and people will rock up just to say hello. We've got an event here at the gym later today. Having that sense of community is something I think I definitely missed when I left boxing. Yeah. And to have it back and then to see it in other countries, it's like, yeah, like I'm trying to get that here. And then to see that they've got it there is so wholesome. And I think that's what's life about. Like, life for me at least is about connection. And when you can see it, like, it's so nice. So you're just making friends, doing the most random stuff, but you know, it's just like, I guess, lighthearted fun, really. You know,
you touched on the mental health awareness before, and I know that you're a massive advocate for it. But I guess, where did that love for helping people with obviously mental health problems or issues start for you?
It was definitely something I always experienced growing up, like, you know, mental health stuff, like a lot of anxiety, depression. And then I started...
Is that something you experienced yourself?
Oh, sorry, personally, Sorry, I experienced personally. I also had friends and family affected as well. I lost a few friends that died, passed away via suicide, which is super sad growing up. And it was one of the things that I sort of realized, particularly, I feel like, you know, people our age, is sort of the last generation of these blokes that don't want to talk about stuff. You know, we're all like, you don't talk and you just get on with it. And I noticed that a lot in my dad and his generation, where it wasn't like you just deal with it. Like, you just, men and women, but you just deal with it. So I started talking about it a little bit, and then got a lot of like, people were really resonating or just messaging me personally, like, yeah, man, I actually feel that too. I'd be like talking about being so anxious sometimes you just don't want to get out of the car and stuff like that at the shops, and people that I'd never pick it, they were like, oh yeah, me too. I'd be like, wow, this is... And then I was like, man, we really need to start talking about this more and trying to raise some money and spread some awareness. Like, I do a lot of... I try and raise funds for, like, living and stuff like that. And they have actually got programs where they go to, like, workplaces and schools and they talk about it. And I think that's the biggest thing we can do with, like, the mental health stuff, is just let people know you're not by yourself. Because I think that's why I'm so passionate about it, because for years I thought it was me. Well, I knew there was people that felt like me, but I thought we were very, like, few and far between. I thought we were a bit like, you know, like, what do you mean anxious? Like, scared of being scared? Like, what, like, and to my head, I was, like, always very negative towards myself, because I was like, you know, you got people overseas in wars and stuff like that, and you're, like, afraid of going to the shops because, like, we kind of feel guilty, like, particularly in, you know, in Australia, like, quote unquote, what's there to complain about? And there's really not too much to complain about. You can't help how you feel.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and I think that was just, like, once I relearned that, like, yes, it's like, you know, even with the like with the eating stuff, we try and also raise money for Food Bank, is that there's people in, like, other countries that have nothing. There's people going through war, but it doesn't mean that there aren't families hungry here in Australia, and it doesn't mean that, like, our problems, you know, someone that works in an office and has a nice family, they're just as important, like, in terms of their anxiety, like, to acknowledge that. So I think once I realized that a lot of people were kind of feeling really bad for themselves, because you watch the news and you think, oh, I have no right to feel bad. You know, but that's what mental health is. It doesn't discriminate on who you are, where you are, how rich you are. So that's why I was like, we need to sort of spread awareness within our own country, because I think a lot of people have been kind of getting, I don't want to say, like, disrespected, because that's probably not the word I mean, but misunderstood. Misunderstood by people that may not experience it. It's very hard to explain how depression and anxiety feels if you've never experienced it. So I think that it's nice to talk amongst people that do that do understand, or at least have some form of experience with it, so that the people that maybe don't want to talk about it know that, okay, maybe no one in my circle or, like, feels this way, but I'm not alone. You know?
For sure. Like, that's awesome. And I see it a lot too, is like, in this gym, you'll see, you know, big guys just training hard and all the rest, and you think they're the most confident people in the world. And, like, we've probably all experienced, like, these guys, like, but they're actually just fighting demons half the time.
For
They're
sure.
using their training as an outlet for that anxiety or
Absolutely.
depression. So yeah, it's like you can't judge a book by its cover, I guess, when it comes to that sort of stuff. It'll bite you whenever.
Yeah.
You might have been perfect all the way up until you're 35,
Yeah.
and then next minute this thing's just clicked on.
Something happens.
And you're having some dramas,
Yeah.
and especially in the industry-driven town that we are, and that culture, like you said, of you'll be right, she'll be right.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I think I watched a cool. I can't remember his name. He's from the Gold Coast. Hopawai, or he works out in the mines.
Oh, yeah.
He posted a great 15-second clip, and it was like, "Come on, bro, let's get this job done now." And he's like, "Oh, I can't today. I got it in my head. I'm having some stuff in my head." And then the next day, he jumps in the car, and his mate's not there, and that's how quick those issues. And it can come on so suddenly, and it's gone, or it's something that can haunt someone for 10, 15, 20 years before they seek any sort of professional help or reach out to a family member or a friend. So, yeah, no, that's awesome that, you're taking that path and using your channel as well to be an advocate for mental health. It's been definitely more in the light now that it's okay for us men and women. But
For sure. And of course, like you said, and women, of course, but and I guess that's why a lot of the time with the mental health stuff, I try and do like men's mental health, not because it's not as suitable for women's mental health, but I say this all the time, even to my partner, like I can always try and put myself in your position, but I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I'm sure it's like we have our own separate battles, but like who am I to tell a lady how to feel? Like you guys go through so much like different stuff. But like you're exactly right. Like mental health in general, we're definitely all one in that sense. But I'd never try to tell a lady how to feel. Like you know what I mean? Because it's just I can
totally
only
agree.
speak from a place of my experience, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
for sure, absolutely. Something a little bit more lighthearted. Favorite challenge? Have you got one or a top three? Let's do a top three. I know it's
top
hard.
three. I did one in Bali that was like a 3-kilo burger, which at the time was the biggest one ever done, and that was really really fun. And then another one I really loved. We had a Burger Urge reached out and they said, look, if you can eat 30 custard waffles in 10 minutes, we'll donate 5K to Livin. And so that was more so for what it meant than the challenge, because 30 custard waffles is like too much custard. And then yesterday, actually, in Dicey's in Gladstone, they've got like a 2.5 kilo palmy, and I tried it twice last year and got absolutely smoked by it. So I came back yesterday and beat it, and to feel and see the progression from where I was last year to this year, it just felt really nice. So I think they'd definitely be my top three for different reasons. But yeah, it's normally like, Bali was the experience. The custard waffle one was what it meant. And then yesterday was just like a little personal, like it's nice to tick off. Like we said, there's definitely levels to it, but my biggest thing, even though this is fun, is I want to see that I'm getting better. And obviously the bigger and better stuff I can do, the more I hope it engages people, and it does look cooler. Like, if I can eat a burger that's this big, then the next time it's slightly bigger, it's so much easier to get more engagement because it's just less and less believable. And then you see, you're like, oh wow, almost like clickbait, but not.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
You got any?
No, bro, it's good to see what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, social media is such an interesting place nowadays, and it's always good to have people like yourself who are positive and just doing things for a cause or purpose, like whether it's mental health or whether it's given to charity, like the food donations. I love what you said there. Like a lot of people actually overlook, like they tend to give away to other countries, say like third world countries, where you see them struggling, but we overlook the people that are struggling in our own countries.
For sure.
There's many stories about countries giving away billions of dollars to other countries who are affected by war, but that's some amount of money could solve so many problems in their own, in their own countries and their own cities. So it's awesome that you're just almost giving that exposure and giving that light. And I wish you the best for the future, bro.
Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you giving us the time of day.
No, thank you. You guys always take care of me here as well, so I appreciate you. So
thanks very much. And if you see Jimmy around, grab a photo. Shout out to anyone that wants to do challenges. Get in contact with him. And wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.